What you call me?
One of today's toughest, most physically demanding sports is known as cornhole. Not to be confused with cornholio. For those few of you out there who don't know, cornhole is the no-holds-barred, thrill-ride game played by two opposing teams of athletes who are nothing short of the pinnacle of human perfection. I mean, just look at this majestic pantheon of champions. Okay, in all honesty, cornhole is just a fun backyard barbecue game that you can play with a group of friends or family members. Or both, if you're crazy like that. It usually consists of teams of two, with each team having 2 members, 8 bags, and 2 boards. The boards, as you may have guessed, are what we're going to be focusing on today. Mostly because I don't know how to sew, because I'm not a seamstress or seamster. What's the male term for, I don't know, maybe we don't need to get gender specific here. But I don't know how to sew regardless. And I don't know how to make people because I'm not God. And if 30 plus years of movies and TV have taught me anything, it's that trying to play God is not a good idea. I mean, sometimes I guess it works out okay, but just on average, it's probably not a good idea. But I do know how to make things out of wood, so here we are. For my cornhole boards, I'm going to be using 2 sheets of plywood, each cut to 2 feet by 4 feet in length and width. And for the frame, I'm using 1x4s, which are cut to roughly the same dimensions. If you haven't found yourself completely lost in the sweet, dulcet tones of my angelic voice, then you may have noticed that I'm trying to use exclusively POV or action shots for all of my camera angles. Trying to get you right down into the nitty-gritty of what I'm doing. And this is because I recently thought to myself, boy, this tripod I'm using for this is really cool. It's got these little bendy legs, and you can get right down in there and get a good look at what's going on. Not only is this tripod great for the close-up shots, but it also allows me to get way up high so I can get those wide-angle views. Whoa, who's that handsome devil? The thing to do now is to apply the glue and also get ready to start brad nailing the board down to the frame. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, folks. You shouldn't see that. I'll take care of it. And there. Is that better? Sorry about that. It won't happen again. I'm trying to keep this thing PG for the kids, you know. Anyway, so yeah, I'm applying the glue, putting the board into place, and then I'm going to start brad nailing. As you can see, there's this little white-haired goblin that just kind of roams around my garage once in a while. I don't know where he comes from. Right now I'm just making marks on these blocks of wood that I'm going to use for the legs. I'm just trying to round off the one end of the leg so that it'll pivot underneath the board. And to do that, as you can see, I am marking it with my compass, and then I'm going to use my jigsaw to cut it off. Yes, my trusty companion, the old belt sander. You are the Sam to my Frodo, the Chewie to my Han, and the Doc to my Marty, or maybe Marty to my Doc. Either way. Sawing. That's right, folks, it's time to saw again. Now I'm cutting angles on the bottom of the legs. And just look at those camera angles, folks. Drink it in. But if you get motion sickness, you might want to close your eyes right about now. And now you can go ahead and open your eyes. That's much better. Right now I'm cutting out holes for the cornhole boards, and I'm using my RotoZip that my dad gave me to do that. I am cutting the holes to 6 inches in diameter. That's RotoZip, a name you can trust. Oops, looks like someone wasn't paying attention when they were drilling those pocket holes before. The holes that I'm drilling right now are where the legs are going to attach to the boards. And to attach them, I'm using these carriage bolts. And I'm stacking 2 flat washers on the inside against the cornhole board so that the leg has a place to pivot. I wanted to make sure that I use these nylon lock nuts just to make sure that the bolt doesn't loosen itself once you open and close the leg several times. Boy, oh boy, nothing puts a twinkle in my eye quite like sanding. I'm going over the whole board using a coarser grit sandpaper at first, and then I'm going to switch to a finer grit just for the surface. I had a little bit of the edge of the plywood protruding over the side, but the belt sander makes quick work of that. There's obviously a lot more sanding involved than what I'm showing here, but holy cow was I ready to be done at this point. This next segment was the trickiest part, and I was really skeptical and anxious about how I was going to do this and how it was going to turn out. I decided my best bet was to mask off a large portion of the area where I wanted the symbols to be, and then I put a picture that I printed out from the computer on top of that, and very carefully used an X-Acto knife to cut out every edge. After that, I took a clear coat and I sprayed around all the edges so that would prevent bleed through from the paint. The trick with the clear coat preventing the bleed through of the paint, I actually learned from watching I Like to Make Stuff. As I've mentioned before, that guy does some really fantastic work, and I remember on several different occasions he pointed out in his video to use the clear coat, and it's a really helpful tip. Uh-oh, looks like the goblins are back, and they're multiplying. Oh boy, I'm really gonna have to call pest control. Never mind. I can't do it. They're just so darn cute. As I learned shortly after this little segment, I should have masked off the entire board because I did actually get some overspray in between the 2 red areas. Not so much on the black, but the red, you could really see it. Several hours later, I was really happy with how these turned out. They almost look like decals that were like machine printed. And you can see that pink stripe I was talking about from the overspray. For the latches, I wanted the boards to be completely immobilized, so I clamped them together and then started to install these things. The idea behind the latches is to keep them together when I'm not using them so they'll take up less space. Plus, it makes it way easier to carry them around. Now, obviously, this isn't a 40-foot lane or anything, but I had to try them out at least a little bit. And look at that. Hole in one on the first one. I didn't show it in the video, but I actually put 2 coats of polyacrylic on these entire things, and I did a light sanding in between coats. And I'm very happy with how these things turned out. I tried to go for a minimalist paint job on them. I kind of wish I would have done a little bit different, but I might go back and change it at some point. But I'm pretty happy with them for now. And I'm very happy with how little room they take up whenever you put them together. This almost cuts the storage area that I need in half from what my old boards were. Oh boy, can't wait to try out my new cornhole boards. Outside in this nice beautiful weather. Get to see how these babies work. Ah, crap. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video. This is actually the second set of cornhole boards that I've made, and I made some adjustments to my original design. I tried to make these ones regulation size, and I used some different size lumber to cut down on the weight, and also tried to make them a little more compact for storage space. Now, obviously, I put my own paint job on it to my own personal tastes, but you guys can put whatever spin on it you like. That's the nice thing about these things. You can make them however you want. Well, that does it for me this week. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure to like and subscribe below, and I'll see you next week.